The house smelled faintly of lavender and dust. Sunlight streamed through lace curtains, scattering patterns across the wooden floor of the old study. Mia stood in the middle of the room, clutching a box she had found in her grandmother's wardrobe. It was a small wooden chest, the kind used for keepsakes, worn smooth by years of handling. Her grandmother, Evelyn, had passed away only a week ago. The family was still wrapped in mourning, but Evelyn's will had left one instruction. Let Mia sort through my study. She'll know what to keep. Mia didn't know what to expect. Her grandmother had always been reserved, someone who held stories close to her chest. Now, surrounded by shelves of old books and stacks of yellowed papers, Mia carefully opened the chest. Inside were photographs, a silver locket, and, at the very bottom, an envelope sealed in brittle wax. The ink on the front was faded, but the name was clear. Evelyn Carter. Her heart skipped. This wasn't her grandmother's handwriting. The letters curled elegantly, full of a romantic flair. With trembling fingers, Mia broke the wax and unfolded the paper. My dearest Evelyn, by the time this reaches you, I will already be gone. The war calls me, though every piece of my heart resists leaving you behind. I promised I would return, but I cannot promise fate will allow it. If life is kind, I will hold your hand again one day. If it is cruel, know that I loved you more than words can hold. Do not wait for me. Live your life, and let joy find you again. Always yours. Thomas. Mia read it twice, her chest tightening with every line. She knew her grandmother had married her grandfather, Robert, young. He had been a good man, kind, steady, dependable. But Evelyn had never spoken of anyone named Thomas. The letter had been unopened, which meant Evelyn never read it. That night, Mia sat with her mother, Ellen, at the kitchen table. She placed the letter carefully between them. Her mother's eyes widened. Where did you find this? In Grandma's study. She never opened it. Ellen's hand trembled as she touched the paper. Thomas Whitmore. She mentioned him once, only once. Said he was a childhood friend. I never asked more. They sat in silence. Outside, cicadas hummed in the dark. Ellen finally sighed. Your grandfather knew. He once told me Evelyn's heart belonged partly to someone else before him. But she chose him, built her life here. Maybe she never told us because she didn't want the past to overshadow the love she gave. Mia wondered what it meant to live with a love story hidden in the folds of memory. Flashback. 1942, the summer air smelled of wildflowers and fresh hay. Evelyn sat on the wooden fence by the meadow, swinging her legs, while Thomas sketched something in his notebook. His sleeves were rolled up, and his hair fell into his eyes as he concentrated. Are you drawing me again? Evelyn teased, tilting her head. Thomas smirked without looking up. No, just the way the light hits the meadow, though. He glanced at her then, his gaze softening. You happened to be sitting right in it. She rolled her eyes, but her cheeks flushed. She loved that about him. how he made everything feel like poetry, even a lazy summer afternoon. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Thomas grew quiet. "If I have to go," he began. "Don't," Evelyn interrupted quickly, her voice breaking. "Don't talk like that." He reached for her hand. "If I have to go, promise me you'll keep living. Promise you won't let the war take you too." She looked at him with tears in her eyes. "I can't promise that." "Then promise you'll try." His voice was steady, though his thumb trembled as it brushed her knuckles. Mia found herself returning to that sketchbook she'd discovered earlier. Pressed inside were wildflowers, faded but still intact, as though Thomas had preserved a piece of their summer together. She could almost picture Evelyn as a young woman, standing in the meadow, sunlight turning her hair to gold while Thomas tried to capture it on paper. The thought made her ache. Her grandmother had lived decades beyond those days. Marriage, children, grandchildren. But she had carried this memory quietly, like a secret flame. At the library, Mia found the record she dreaded. Private Thomas Whitmore, missing in action, 1943. A lump formed in her throat. He had never come home. The letter had been lost in the post, delayed until years later, perhaps found in some forgotten bin and delivered too late. Flashback. The train station. Evelyn stood on the crowded platform, her hands clenched in white gloves. Trains screamed and hissed. Soldiers leaned out of windows, and women waved handkerchiefs that blurred in the smoke. Thomas stood before her in uniform, his duffel slung over his shoulder. He tried to smile, but his eyes betrayed the heaviness inside him. "All right," he said. "You'd better," she whispered. She pressed something into his hand, a pressed wildflower, folded neatly in paper. "So you don't forget home." "I could never forget you," he said. His voice cracked on the last word. The whistle blew, and they held each other fiercely. Then he was gone, swallowed by the train, by the war, by history itself. The garden on, the evening of Evelyn's memorial, Mia stood by her grandmother's favorite rose bush, holding the letter. She thought about the weight of untold stories, about how a single piece of paper had carried decades of silence. She realized her grandmother had lived a full life with Robert, raised children, laughed, cooked Sunday dinners, and told bedtime stories. Yet a part of her heart had always belonged to a man who never returned. Love was complicated, Mia thought. Sometimes it stretched across lifetimes, refusing to vanish even when the person was gone. She whispered softly into the breeze, as if Evelyn could hear. "He did love you, Grandma. He just couldn't come back." Later, as Mia tucked the letter back into the chest, her fingers brushed against something else at the very bottom. A slim, leather-bound journal wrapped in ribbon. She hesitated, then untied it. On the first page, Evelyn's handwriting curved across the paper. "For the one who finds this. Some loves do not fade. They change shape. They live quietly. They guide us even when we choose another path." I loved Robert with all my heart, but Thomas was the part of me I never spoke of. If you are reading this, know that it is possible to love more than once and that none of it is a betrayal. It is simply the human heart, vast, imperfect, and unending. Mia closed the journal, tears burning her eyes. It was both a confession and a benediction, an admission of sorrow, but also of love's resilience. As she closed the study door, that night she felt both the weight and the warmth of Evelyn's secret. The letter had never arrived in time, but the journal had, and though the story ended in loss, it also lingered as proof that love, even unfinished, can echo across generations, bittersweet but eternal.